Hey, I'm Ali Bradley, and we sat down exclusively with the DEA here in New Orleans to talk with them about how they're combating the flow of fentanyl, saying that they're actually chipping away at cartel networks, namely the Sinaloa and the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. So they are working against them, trying to get the fentanyl out of the streets and stop the flow from getting into the hands of the people living here. So this is how they're doing it.
Well, obviously, one of the targets you guys have is the criminal cartels. We got Sinaloa, CJNG, pretty prolific here in the New Orleans area. What is your concern with the cartels? I mean, it seems like on a surface level, I can ascertain what it would be, but I want to hear it from you as to what the cartels really are doing here and your concern about them.
So with the two major cartels that you've pointed out, CJNG and Sinaloa, these are not new organizations. They're not new to DEA, and what we're doing to investigate them is not new either. DEA has always been in the business of investigating networks, large organizations, and it takes a lot of time, and we are designed and equipped and resourced to do long-term investigations against some of the most powerful, ruthless organizations. And the perfect example are these cartels. What has happened in the last couple of years and how the cartels have grown, specifically CJNG and Sinaloa, is the growth of synthetic drugs such as fentanyl. No longer do these organizations have to wait on a growing season for marijuana specifically, or even cocaine and heroin. They have the ability to fulfill exactly what their mission is, and that is to do everything in their power to make money, and they can do that through manufacturing now these synthetic drugs. These powerful, ruthless organizations have designed themselves and organized themselves that they have different sections that are similar to any organization, any business organization. They have manufacturing, they have shipping or smuggling, they have research and development, they have distribution, they have the finance side, which is money laundering usually. All of those are avenues that DEA investigates and looks into, because any of the arrests that we can make or seizures that we can make, that impacts what they're doing.
Are they flooding your streets with those synthetic drugs right now?
So the short answer is yes, but I think that warrants a little bit of explanation. And that is, fentanyl is the most deadliest drug threat that we see all across America. And whether that's in towns like right here in New Orleans, or obviously in Chicago or LA and New York and the other big cities, but also it's in every other community right up the road in Shreveport or Little Rock or over in Birmingham. Fentanyl is everywhere, and it's for the reason of it's very cheap to make, it's small and easy to smuggle, it's highly addictive, but the problem is it's very deadly, as we know. So it's here in cities like New Orleans, and the people and somebody who decides that they're going to distribute it, that has to come from somewhere. And DEA knows that a large majority of the fentanyl and other synthetic drugs that are made and sent here to America the primary people that are responsible are the two cartels, Sinaloa and CJNG. So when we say that, are the cartels here in our city, and are they flooding our city with dangerous drugs like fentanyl that are killing Americans? The short answer is yes, but it doesn't necessarily mean it is the cartel boss in Mexico somewhere who's making a trip here and then personally distributing it. This is a large network organization that is spread not only here in New Orleans, but it's in every city in America.
You know, we've talked a lot about fentanyl pouring across the border. I live at the border, I cover the border. That's something we've kept a keen eye on when it comes to the flow. Do you think that there was an opportunity over the 4 years that we saw kind of an open border, for lack of a better term, that the precursor drugs, that the chemicals to make fentanyl came into the U.S. and they're already here making it, and that's why we're not seeing as much come across the border? Is there an opportunity for them to be doing that in the interior right now because of what we saw?
I think that, I mean, you make a great point about it, and that's the dangers behind the synthetic drugs, is that the drugs don't have to be grown anywhere. They can be manufactured, and it only depends on how quickly and how much of the precursor chemicals that whoever decides they want to manufacture it can get their hands on. We have started to see, as you mentioned, we have started to see a decline in some of the fentanyl overdoses. It's still way too high, but I would think that there are, I like to attribute, there's three different factors that contribute to that. One is, as you mentioned before, the border has become much more secure. There is the widespread of Narcan that has become available that has helped reduce overdoses. And then number three, and probably the most important one, and the one that DEA is most involved in of these three, and that's educating Americans about just how dangerous fentanyl is and what they can do to protect themselves.
How much fentanyl do you know off the top of your head have you guys seized this year under your operations against the cartel?
For this calendar year, I mean, I know we've seized DEA-wide. It's been millions and millions of the counterfeit pills. Mm-hmm. There are tens of thousands of pounds of the fentanyl powder all across the U.S. Here in our division, it's slightly smaller because, I mean, it's a smaller geographical area, but I mean, it continues to just be an everyday event.
Mm-hmm. I read that it was around 20 kilos in another article. Would that be about accurate for fentanyl seizure?
Yeah.
And you guys have arrested around 400 individuals, from what I understand, related to the flow of fentanyl, cocaine, and methamphetamine. Would that be about accurate?
Yes, for the New Orleans area.
Yes, for New Orleans specifically. And when we're talking about that, who are we talking about is being arrested? Are they these drug traffickers? Are they drug buyers, users? I mean, who are we talking about here? And are all these individuals here legally, or are they here without status?
Ali, to answer your question, I think the answer is all of the above. Of the people that DEA comes in contact with that we make arrests for, they're going to fit a lot of different categories. There's going to be people that are legal U.S. citizens. There's going to be people that are undocumented or illegal aliens. But then there's going to be people that are of all different sorts within the organizations or networks that we investigate. There's going to be manufacturers, there's going to be money launderers, there's going to be smugglers, there's going to be distributors, there's going to be enforcers, people that enforce the rules for the cartel. There's just any kind, that's what makes up the network, and that's what makes DEA very good at what we do and what we're resourced and outfitted to do, and that is to attack an entire network from all those angles. So it is not our objective. We don't want to simply arrest just one distributor and call that a case. For us, the investigation is all the way from the beginning to the end of a network.
And I understand with the FTO, it kind of has allowed you guys more resources and more avenues to go after them, whether it's seizing their assets, freezing them, whatever it might be. So what kind of progress have you made when it comes to dismantling these two networks in your area?
When this year, like you said, we've been able to use a lot more of our avenues because of the designation of these two cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And I think probably the best way to look at how well we've done is we look at the strengths of our partnerships with the state and the locals and the other federal agencies, because as you mentioned before, not just the 400 arrests that DEA has made here in the New Orleans area, but I think you can expand that even farther into all the other federal agencies that we've helped and assisted, that they have assisted with us, all of the state and local agencies, because we work day in and day out with every one of them. And so the impact that we're making is still our number one focus, and that is in the name of public safety. And so when we see that there is a lower violent crime rate, when there is a lower drug overdose rate, when there's a lower rate of other crimes that are happening. I think that's the impact of how we measure our work every day.
And are we seeing that? Are we seeing a decline in those things with the efforts you guys are making?
Yes.
Across the board?
Yes.
Okay. When it comes to green fentanyl, kryptonite, is that a concern? And kind of elaborate on what that is. I know it's been found in this area. What kind of concerns come up with that? It's still fentanyl, but is there a new concern because it's a different variation?
I think the number one concern is obviously, like you said, it's fentanyl. But earlier I talked about the organizations like CJNG and Sinaloa and the operatives that they have and the associates that they have. They recognize that that fentanyl and other synthetic drugs are so cheap to make, and they need to get them into the public. So what do they need? They need a marketing department. They need research and development. And so what happens is there are creative minds that try to figure out what is the best way that I can gain more consumers to purchase the product that we're putting out there. And so there's lots of times there's very creative ideas that these organizations come up with, and unfortunately it becomes a matter of maybe the fentanyl this time doesn't look quite as dangerous, so they can get more people to try it or buy it, or be quite honestly tricked into consuming it, which is, as we know, is problematic too. Then we have a poisoning, because people don't know that this is fentanyl that I'm buying.
Yeah, it definitely looks a little bit different than the typical powder we see. Are we seeing an increase in that, or when did we first see that or find that here?
The green fentanyl,
Yeah.
I think it was about 6 months ago or so. We were able to see it for the first time about 6 months ago. And again, it's surprising when you see it, but then when you take a step back and look at all that we've seen the last 5 or 6 years, and again, the creativity of these very ruthless, powerful organizations that have nothing else on their mission statement other than to make money. And they don't care what happens to the consumer.
Yeah, that's the hard part, right? When it comes to the cartels, they're operating in 40 countries or more.
That's right.
Are they operating in every single state at this point? I know in the past the DEA has said they're present in all 50 states. Is that still true?
Yes. Yeah.
And with that being said, what kind of stronghold do they have on the nation? Is it possible to actually dismantle these networks when they've really entrenched themselves into the interior of our country?
I think it is possible. It is what we do every day. It is dismantling, and it's taking apart piece by piece by piece. And it's because of the way that we attack it, DEA attacks it, and that is that we look at an entire organization or entire network like we talked about earlier. How well are the cartels entrenched? The difficulty with that is, once again, we're not talking about a brick and mortar typical business here. We're talking about people that can shift and move around and go where the customers are, but they can also avoid, and they do everything they can to avoid law enforcement. But utilizing the interstate systems, the waterways, and any other form or fashion they can to smuggle and move the precursors or the finished product drugs or the money and the other items they need to do their business, like illegal guns. It goes with where they can find the opportunity.
Should people be concerned in Louisiana and New Orleans specifically about these two cartels?
I think what every American citizen needs to be concerned about is the dangers of synthetic drugs, and specifically fentanyl. And that's one of the biggest things that DEA is doing, and we talked about it a little bit ago, and that's educating Americans. The number one way that fentanyl is purchased and consumed are through these counterfeit pills. And that's why every American has to be just so careful that they get their prescription medications only from a licensed pharmacist that's been prescribed to them from their doctor. Any other purchasing what is thought to be a prescription pill on social media, it absolutely cannot happen. It is not a real, that is a counterfeit. It happens
People
every
buy
single
pills off
day.
of social media?
Ali, the thing about drug dealers anymore and where we've gone, drug dealers aren't, it's no longer, yes, you can probably go to a street corner somewhere and buy drugs, but the number one drug dealer in America right now is social media. That's where people buy their counterfeit prescription pills, which then leads to them taking fentanyl and not realizing it, or maybe they do realize it, but then the only way to tell then what is in that counterfeit pill is the reaction from the person that buys it. They either overdose, and if they overdose, it's one of two outcomes. It's either a fatal overdose or it's not. But that person then can be addicted to fentanyl and will do what they want or what they can to get their hands on it again.
Wow, here I thought it was just like old school people doing drug deals, and it's instead people are connecting on social media and getting these pills. That's mind-blowing. It's being, obviously social media is being used for nefarious reasons.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
When it comes to the immigration side of things here in New Orleans, obviously you guys have a kind of sweeping enforcement ahead of you, an impending one in the coming days here. Does the DEA, are they working with Border Patrol and ICE on these efforts, or are they disjointed, or what's going on? Because I know the Trump administration has just about every three-letter agency working together in lockstep on these crackdowns. Are you also working with the immigration enforcement efforts?
Absolutely. 7 days a week, every day, all the time.
What does that look like?
For us, so our primary mission still remains drug investigations. That's what we're built for, designed for, resourced for. However, with the recent authority that we gained to enforce immigration law this year under the Trump administration, yes, we now supplement the ICE agency, the local ICE agency, the ERO, and the Border Patrol, and we're out. We have agents assigned every single day to go out and assist with their big mission that they have.
Do you think that is a good use of agents from the DEA when you have all these other tasks that you're dealing with right now? I mean, I guess you're going after the cartels alongside this immigration enforcement effort too, because most of the cartels, I would imagine, are here in a not legal capacity.
I think the answer has several folds to it. One is, I mean, in the name of public safety, yes, we're going to do that. Two, it's our partners that we ask them to come help us when it's time to do drug cases. So absolutely, we're gonna be there when they need assistance. They have a big job in front of them, and we're here to help them in any manner that we can.
Has there been a lot of support within the agency to do that? I mean, they've received a lot of backlash in the public opinion. On the agency side, has it been pretty receptive?
Oh yes, yes. I don't know that I've ever had one instance yet in this past year where I've had a supervisor or an agent say that they don't think they should be doing this. In fact, what they end up doing is they take time, because we have to take additional training and classes to make sure that our agents are well equipped and they understand what they're going to do, because the law is different. It's different. It's not what we were originally designed for, but we've been able to adapt and help with this mission, and so they go out and do everything they can every single day to assist. And like I said, it's a really big job they have in front of them. But the people in the agency, the agents and the supervisors know it's in the name of making their community and their neighborhood safer.
Will you be ramping up enforcement operations at all when they actually start their, it's called Catahoula Crunch, but some are calling it Swamp Sweep, when they actually begin this enforcement? Excuse me, from what I understand, it's in the coming days. Will you be offering additional agents? Will you be ramping up your efforts there, or will you be just continuing business as usual as you have been?
I think that will come in a day-to-day. There will be days, yes, we're asked to provide more, and we will. But there may be days that other agencies are going to provide the needed support, or maybe they don't quite need us. But ultimately, yes, what is asked for, we're going to provide.
Awesome. Now, when it comes to, this is another kind of off the topic, when it comes to drones dropping drugs at the prisons. What's going on with that? Kind of tell me a little bit, walk me through this process, how this is working and how you're working to stop it.
It's once again, we're into the how creative can people become to make money. It is, yes, we're seeing it all over the country again. We see it here in Louisiana. We see it right here in the area for all different kinds of prisons. It is becoming a popular way to get contraband into prisons. Like the topic that we talked about earlier with social media and doing our investigations. Unfortunately, sometimes law enforcement is a little behind when it comes to the law when it deals with doing investigations. And as you know, there's a lot of FAA laws, and for as much as people want to say, well, why can't we just preclude them from flying over the prison or doing, there's a lot of laws, and we cannot just do absolutely whatever we want. So this is proven to be a little bit difficult, but we are getting on top of it, and there are opportunities to not just, again, I'll put it in the context of, it's kind of like doing an investigation where there's one particular person that's selling drugs on a street corner. DEA will take the approach, is it really the best thing to arrest and convict that one person? It may work, it's a short time fix, but our interest is, who does that person work for? Where do the drugs come from? Where does the money go back for? Let's look at the network. The drones are the same way. We could probably take the drones out of the sky and try to keep them from that one drone of coming back. But really what we want to do, and we're developing the technology, is we'll know where it came from, who's operating it, how often it goes around, what other prisons it goes to, maybe even figure out exactly what contraband they delivered. So it's about advancing and thinking beyond just that one instance.
Right, because you're just cutting the head off a snake, right? If you take that drone down, it's going to grow another one.
That's right.
It's going to keep going. So unless you get to the source, the root of the issue, which sounds like what you're trying to do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it TikTok? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Like, where are we seeing these drug deals happen? Which platform?
Every one of them.
All of them.
Every one of them. Now there's
how does it happen? Can you walk me through? Like, do they meet up still in person? Do they have to still meet in person? I would imagine, right?
Well, somebody does, or we come back to the drone scenario too. There's just a lot of different. You really have to put your creative hat on, because, for example, I don't want to. If there is a particular platform that's used, it may be more attractive to a high school student or a young college student. They find a way to talk to a person who they gain some trust in, or they think they know who they're talking to, and they have the opportunity to purchase what is described as a legitimate prescription, 1 pill or 2 pills, when it's not legitimate. And whether that person on the other end who's making the arrangements, just like a typical street drug deal, if they send somebody else to deliver the drugs, pick up the money, because that's the other aspect of it, is no longer are we're seeing fewer and fewer actual cash deals now too, where hard cash is exchanged. All the electronic money is also makes it difficult in some instance for us to gain the evidence that we need. So we've had to become experts. Our agents have to become experts in the social media platforms, understanding and interpreting what's going on there, but then also all of the electronic money, how to follow that and figure out where's the end point, where's that money ultimately ending up. So
I'm sorry to ask, isn't it easier to follow an electronic paper trail than a literal paper trail that you can't really follow? I mean, at least you've got Cash App or whatever, and it went right. I don't know how deep your guys' networks run or your capabilities run, but isn't it easier to follow an electronic exchange?
I think it would be, again, if people were conducting legitimate business or legitimately exchanging, two people go to lunch and one person pays the other on Cash App, pretty easy. Nobody's trying to hide anything. There are plenty of opportunities in the electronic money world to hide that trail, to cover it up. So our agents have to become experts in figuring out that deception.
Wow. I didn't even think about that side of it. I didn't know that you can hide Cash App transactions, but I guess you can. Joaquin pled guilty to 2 counts of, I believe, drug trafficking and kidnapping.
Yes.
Any comments on that?
The very senior leader of what we're talking about here, of the very ruthless, powerful organizations that will stop at nothing to make not millions but billions of dollars at the expense of American citizens. He's responsible for the killing of hundreds of thousands of American citizens through the distribution of the drugs that came to America, and all of the other criminal activity, the kidnapping and the maybe it's illegal guns, and there were just I think there were a lot of other crimes that happened there. But it comes back to, that's what he's guilty of, is terrorizing Americans.
When it comes to the financial side of it, we know that the cartel was making like $13 billion a year just moving people into the country. Do we have a grasp of how much money they're making moving drugs into the country, or what they're doing here in New Orleans?
For here in New Orleans, in the area,
And how much money do they make?
it's going to be hundreds of millions of dollars.
No way. Just in this region?
In the
Every year?
region. Every year.
Making hundreds of millions of dollars
Right,
in this region
right.
every year.
So that's why they're growing so much, Ali, is think about the how much it takes to make fentanyl. Fentanyl actually makes, a person can probably make a lethal dose amount of fentanyl, which is 2 milligrams, for less than 5 cents. And it can be and it's probably purchased, whether through social media or on the street or just in some kind of hand-to-hand action, anywhere from $10 to $30 a pill. And so when you think about 45 million pills that are seized by DEA, that's only the ones we're seizing. And so that's a lot of math right there, but that I think in my mind that comes up to be hundreds of millions of dollars.
Is that how much we've seen is 45 million pills seized in this area?
I think that's not in this area. I think that's for DEA countrywide right now.
So yeah, they're making hand over fist a lot of money doing what they're doing. So why would they stop?
Exactly. That's why DEA's mission is so important, is to continue to investigate and figure out the entire networks. The other thing I think to think about is, who are the cartel members and associates and operatives that are operating here in specifically here in New Orleans? If a person decides that they're going to sell fentanyl, whether it's 2 pills, 4 pills, 150, or 150,000 pills, which we'll see at any given time, I think that person has to take a step back and realize, where did these counterfeit pills come from? Where did these fentanyl pills come from? It came from the cartels that we're talking about, the CJNG and Sinaloa. So even though a person may not to themselves feel like they're a cartel member, and they've never met what is in their mind, a cartel boss or something that they picture to be a cartel member, what they've done is they've opened themselves up now to the charges of supporting a terrorist organization. And so we will continue to use that and the focus and the emphasis from the current administration to continue to disrupt and impact the efforts that these ruthless organizations are really trying to do every day. And they just don't care, Ali. They don't care, like you're talking about. To them, it's nothing more than how much money, how many hundreds of millions of dollars can I make?
So you just heard them talk about the flow of fentanyl and how they're dismantling these networks, but you also heard them talk about supplementing the Border Patrol as they carry out Operation Catahoula Crunch. That is something the DEA says that they are ready and willing to do and will provide any assets that the Border Patrol needs to carry out their mission. Make sure you watch next week for the latest episode of Bradley on the Border.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.